Welcome to the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, the show that puts the spotlight on the incredible women who fuel the world of motorsports. From drivers to crew members, engineers to fans, and everyone in between, we're here to celebrate the trailblazers, dreamers, and doers shaping the sport we love. Each episode, we share inspiring stories of females of all ages from every corner of the motorsports universe, past, present, and future. It's a journey through the seasons of life filled with heartfelt moments, laughter, and a whole lot of horsepower. So whether you're a lifelong fan, a racer yourself, or simply curious about the extraordinary women behind the wheel, settle in, relax, and enjoy a fun and uplifting ride with us. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, connecting and celebrating women in motorsports, one story at a time. Let's hit the track.
Hello, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with the Women's Motorsports Network. And my guest is Kendra today. And Kendra's going to tell us a little bit about herself. So, Kendra, I want to welcome you to the show. Thank you for taking time to do this. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, Melinda, thanks so much. It's great to reconnect. I grew up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, Green Bay Packers, and my dad was a big gearhead and spent a lot of weekends hanging out with him in the garage. And then I was a news reporter for a very long time and quit my job to go to SEMA. And that's kind of who I am and how I got started.
Okay. So there's usually somebody that has introduced us to motorsports. It's not often, especially as a woman, that you just find the track on your own. And so you know, your dad was interested. He got you interested, and you were a reporter for a long time. Tell me about that. What kind of a reporter were you? What did you do in that area?
I was a reporter for about 2-3 years, and I was what they call an MMJ, which is a multimedia journalist. And you know, everybody thinks being a reporter is so glamorous, but they would send you out with a camera and you'd have to figure it out, get the story. It was a lot. So quitting that was pretty easy.
Okay. Yeah. Probably a lot of travel and, you know, you just never knew what you were going to encounter.
It was, well, that. And then I used to call it 1,000 Ways to Die because they would regularly, they would, like the TV show, they would regularly put you in situations that were so impossible. Like one time the news station put me in a car and it was raining and the car didn't have working windshield wipers. Like, or sending you to like rural Wisconsin at like 10 p.m. at night by yourself. So It's definitely different than what people think.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And you know, that's just not safe. So no, I don't blame you for leaving there. And so you went to SEMA.
Yep. So I went to my news director. I was finding all these great motorsports stories. He kind of poo-pooed it and said, nobody really cares about motorsports. So I said, okay, well, you know, I need to go and have time off to go to the SEMA show. And then he said no. So I quit my job and I went.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah.
You know, you have to take a leap of faith sometimes.
You do. Definitely.
And that's what you did. So you went to SEMA. Had you been there before?
I'd never been to SEMA. I didn't know anybody. And honestly, I had zero business experience or money. So it was pretty scary.
Pretty scary. But again, that leap of faith, somewhere inside you, you knew that this was the right thing to do.
Yes. You have to take big risks to get big rewards. Otherwise, what's the point, you know?
Yeah. I agree. I just took kind of one of those. Besides what I do here with the podcast, I'm also a huge crafter. I make a lot of like motorsports things, craft stuff. And anyway, so I had an Etsy shop, but I'd never really done anything with it. And so I cleaned it out. And I'm taking a course about how to be successful on Etsy. And it's amazing. I'm learning so much. And so it was a leap of faith because, you know, I'm not 30 anymore. And so, you know, learning things and doing something different and adding it to my plate with this. But it's something I really wanted to do. And obviously motorsports was in your blood. or SEMA is not where you would have gone, especially had you not been there and you didn't know anybody.
Right. Well, congratulations on taking that leap. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what you make and where it goes.
Yeah, thank you. So Kendra, what do you do at SEMA? And tell us, like, how did you get a job at SEMA just by going to the SEMA show?
Yeah, just flew out there on a whim, and I didn't have a job or any money, so that was a good motivator to meet as many people as possible. While at the show, I met one person who was able to kind of help me meet more people, one of the core people at SEMA, and then he did a lot of introductions. And I was working it as Cruising with Kendra. I had to create a media title to get credentialed. And then from there, it just kind of morphed into our production company. And, people meet you and they say, hey, how can I get video work from you? So it just kind of all comes together. It's really cool.
It is really cool. So what were some of your first jobs that you did with your new company?
Well, one would have been the Hot Rod Power Tour. And
that sounds fun.
It was fun. And that was working with a manufacturer. And it was one of my first paid jobs, which was extra fun. And I remember we got on it really late, and every hotel in Kentucky, like it was in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And we ended up having to book at this it was like a half-star motel in Horse Cave, Kentucky. And it was called the Horse Cave Inn, I think. It was still pushing that they had colored TV and and it was memorable.
It sounds like it. I went to a race one time, kind of similar circumstances, and I was in a motel with a number at the end. I won't say it out loud. One of those, and never again. But you got to stay somewhere, right? You had to figure it out.
You have to start somewhere too, and it's kind of how it goes. But good stories.
So when you did that for that manufacturer, then they use it for what? Advertising, social media, that kind of thing?
We had a film crew with us too. So the film crew, so it was like myself, the film crew, all staying at that rinky-dink motel. And then we would film the manufacturer as they were going on the Hot Rod Power Tour. So we'd be getting in different cars with different, brand reps and filming and just kind of documenting it.
That's really fun.
Yeah, I think good.
Well, and I think what you do, it's not the same thing over and over and over, right? So is SEMA where you get most of your work from, like people that you met there?
I think that because we go to SEMA every year, we do the PRI circuit too. And I think that having that FaceTime is so valuable, and being able to show people, look, I'm more than just a LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing beats meeting face to face. I mean, this is kind of the second best if you can meet through Zoom or StreamYard or something. But that meeting face to face, you make lifelong friends by doing that part, because we just don't do that like we used to. We're so spoiled with technology.
It's so true. And everybody, I think, is craving that face to face time. So it's like the cherry on top if you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's been your favorite job that you've done? Do you have one?
I would say that there are two. Okay. One was going over to Saudi Arabia. We worked in Riyadh with the Crown Prince. They flew 400 of us over there, and our team was in charge of doing the featurettes from a car show that the Crown Prince and the government were putting on to get more Western car interests in the area, which was really exciting. So that was neat. Wow. And the other one would have to be, I worked with Brunswick, and they own Mercury Racing. And we went down the Miami coastline with the CEO of Brunswick going 175 miles an hour on a boat.
On a what did you say?
On a boat. And when the boat has, the seats have handles on the boat, like, you're going to go fast. But yeah, I was not ready for 175.
Wow. And I would hope that the water was fairly smooth, because at 175, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, it was very fast. And honestly, I don't remember if the water was smooth, because it all felt pretty bumpy.
Yeah. And so I've interviewed some women that race boats. That, to me, that's crazy. Some of the flips and stuff they do.
Yeah.
somebody said to me, well, if you're a racer or you love, that kind of thing, you have to be just a little bit off in the head.
I would agree with that.
That's probably more true than I want to admit, because I've done the Richard Petty driving experience where I rode with a guy and it was fast, but I was just sitting there with my arm on the window and just enjoying it. He said, he said something to me about, well, you're not nervous. And I said, yeah, is this as fast as this goes? And he, and we got done and he said, most women are not going to be comfortable going. We went 170 something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it takes a different person, to do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, good experiences. What is the, like when you say you go and you record in that, tell me a little bit more like in depth, what do you have to prepare ahead of time? And then what do you do when you get there?
Mm-hmm. Well, I am very OCD when I'm planning, and normally, so we operate in two different facets. I have my reporting brand where I'm like interviewing people, running around like a crazy person covering the industry. And then we have our company, CWK Media, and that works with clients. And, maybe we're doing something with like a Mercury or something like that. They would reach out and say, hey, we want to do this, 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 this. And then I'm able to go in, put together a production book, and that that appeases my OCD. Everything's organized. We know exactly what we're going to get. Pre-production interviews, schedule for the day, crew gets that. So there's no question. Because sometimes we'll have, 7 to 15 people on set, and it's kind of like wrangling people, making sure they all know what they need to do.
Yeah. Herding cats at some point.
Yeah.
That's what you avoid by preparing ahead of time.
You would hope. Sometimes things fall through the cracks and last minute fires come up.
Yeah. Isn't that true in life? That's just what we live a lot of times, day by day. And the better you get at putting those fires out, the more relaxed and organized in that you can be, for sure.
Definitely.
So is there an interview or a video, something that, you've seen done, but you'd like to be the one doing it next time? Do you have anything like that, like a bucket list?
Well, one thing that I'm doing with our brand, I'm expanding into automotive true crime cars. And I'm finding that is really exciting to me because I'm such a true crime nerd. I'm always watching those programs, the documentaries. And then I live in LA most of the time, and I'm going to these places where the crimes happen, just like on the weekends, just to look at it. And I'm like, well, why not combine my two loves?
That is really cool. I would. And so is it going to be like a podcast, or what's it going to be? How would we listen to it or watch it?
So we just started posting it on our Instagram. It all kind of started by reporting on the Nancy Guthrie situation, which, are you following that?
Oh, yeah. So I love Savannah. I watched the Today Show. So yeah, very much so following that.
Yeah, it's such a crazy case, but there's vehicles involved. And then I started posting some content on my Instagram, and one of them got 1 million views. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So there's interest here.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, we're calling the segment Getaway Car. And we just did one on Jim Morrison's Mustang and how it had connections to the Manson family, which is really cool.
How do you find out about all that? Is it from the things that you've already like listened to in the past and read, or is there like somewhere you go that has a website or something that has all, how do you find out about Jim Morrison's car?
Just like, I like love researching and learning. So I know a lot of this stuff, but like the documentaries, things like that, just kind of being in car circles, people will be like, oh yeah, I have the Zodiac car, or like, just like things like that. And it's been really interesting.
I would think so, because I haven't heard of anybody doing anything like that. And that, you have to do something different. And that I think is really cool. A couple of my daughters listen to the podcasts, like those true crime podcasts, and I'm not sure I can sleep at night if I listen to those, but they do. So I know that that's really popular for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, I know it's weird, but like, I like it because I love like learning, like, oh, okay. Like, oh, wow, that happened to this person. Like, that's interesting, and like, how do you prevent it from happening to you? And like the cases are interesting, the investigation, like it's just really cool.
So when you find a story like that you're going to talk about, do you find people to interview? You go and obviously visit the place if you're able to, where it happened. So how do you just look up and see who you might be able to interview?
Well, it's kind of weird because being in LA, like a lot of people have connection to true crime. So I was talking to one of my friends at a car show and he goes, "Oh yeah, I used to date Rebecca Schaefer." And she was the case where she opened the door and a fan ended up shooting her here in LA. And
Oh,
he's like,
God.
"Yeah, I dated her right before she got shot." And I know who was that actor that was on SNL? Oh, Phil Hartman. My other friend is a stuntman, and he was one of the people who, after Phil Hartman, who was on SNL, was shot by his wife, that wife went and talked to him. So like I just for some reason I have all these friends who are in like connected to true crime cases, which is really wild.
Well, and the fact that they know that you're doing it, so that helps too, that they know what you're up to, and then it the light bulb comes on, like, oh, you should talk to so and so. That's really
Mhm.
how that all works, isn't it? You should talk to so
Yes.
and so, and then they tell you to talk to this person, and yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well,
cool. And
it has their share of crime, so you should be busy for a while.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's I think the most important thing is the reason why I'm doing this is growing up, I had a relative who was involved in a true crime situation and they were almost abducted. And just kind of hearing that story growing up, it's like I feel like, bringing these stories to life from different
Mhm.
perspective is really important.
Yeah, it's kind of like, warning people about a certain scam or something too, The more
Mhm.
knowledge we have to be safe is better. So your stories kind of bring out the important things of locking your doors and not things that, years ago you never did.
Right.
And now, I mean, I don't always lock my car in the driveway because we live on a street that's not busy, but I probably should, you know.
Mhm. You
And
should.
so, yeah. So you mentioned the Nancy Guthrie case. So yes, I have been following it closely. And just like you said, you have to learn maybe from things that have happened to other people. And I said to my husband, she's 84 years old. Why would somebody want an 84-year-old woman? Well, there's a lot of, we're not going to talk about that, reasons that they
Mhm.
take a body or something. But it just makes you stop and think. She lived in a really nice neighborhood and all those things. And no one would expect that to happen, especially just
Mhm.
an older person. And, I'm 70, my husband's 71. And so it does just make you stop and think that crazy things can happen. And so bringing, to the forefront and people saying, this is what she had a Ring camera, but it was no subscription. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
those are things we should be doing.
right. And everybody should have a security system, like things like that.
Hmm. Wow. Kendra, what do you love about your job, your business?
I mean, I would say there are so many facets of it. Like growing up, I never thought that I would be traveling so much. Like now my life is bi-coastal. So I live in LA and I live in North Carolina. Like I split my time.
Okay.
And it's cool because I feel like I have designed the life I always wanted as a kid. So it's just kind of shows that if you go after what you want, you can make things happen.
Isn't that the truth? And if you ignore the noise where people don't encourage or they think it's crazy or whatever, and it's hard to put that out of your mind, but if you can ignore that and just focus on what you want and your dreams and that, nothing can stop you if you put all that away.
I definitely agree. And also ignoring the voice in your head sometimes that says
Oh,
you
true.
can't do this because it's not just external, it's also, internal too, your self-doubt.
That's true. That's true. Somebody cancels their event or whatever it might be. And it can be probably frustrating for sure. If you live in North Carolina, do you do any motorsports stories that we would be able to watch? Or do you ever do anything with Netflix, any streaming services, anything like that?
Well, I just interviewed Jeff Gordon and Richard Petty. That was really great. And that was at a NASCAR event. We go to different NASCAR events with clients and different things. I haven't done anything with Netflix yet, but it's on my list.
Yeah, I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Because that, so big, streaming services and that too. And there's so many good documentaries out now. I mean, it used to be that you couldn't find even on YouTube, you can find really great little short stories. I just interviewed Destiny Spurlock. She's a young Black girl that is in racing, and she's got she's got a show, and it's on YouTube with the company that sponsored her. And it's such a good platform for people who don't have a business or just want to get their name out. And then, of course, Netflix, look what it did with F1 and all that.
I know. And everybody's doing F1 collabs. I swear, like Tommy Hilfiger, like all these commercial brands. It's wild how it just blew up. It
did blow up. Yeah. But I can see why, because if you watch television right now, the new episodes have started. But for the last, 3 months or so, everything's a rerun. And I'll say to my husband, he'll say, oh, let's watch this. He'll turn on, say, Mark, we've seen this. It's a rerun. So then where do we go? We go to Netflix. We go to Prime. We go to a streaming service to watch something different. And so, they've become so much more popular that having something on there is going to be seen by a lot more people now than you would have done in the past.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely agree. And I feel like they are now getting live events, which is wild because that's really going to shake up the whole cable landscape.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. The live events are awesome. And, even for me, like, I don't really do any live Facebook anymore. I did for a while, but I need to get back and do some live Facebook things. And then like TikTok, my granddaughter was here yesterday and we were talking, and she says, Mama, why aren't you on TikTok? Because you could show the stuff you make, even if it's just for your crafts. Say, hey, I made this cup and it's got motorsport, whatever. And I'm like, okay, Maddie, I'm going to have to get on TikTok. So there's lots of opportunity for people, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. So Kendra, how do people, is it word of mouth? Do you have certain customers that, they always have you do their things? How are you growing your business, or how do you get a job with somebody?
I would say it's evolved over the years. Initially, it was going to a trade show like SEMA, PRI. I mean, I made our team go to everything. And now it's people will introduce us, people will refer us based on clientele that we've built. So I think in the beginning, it was getting your face everywhere and being everywhere. Now it's like just kind of going off of referrals and people seeing you online.
Yeah. Okay. I figured it was now referral because, and going to shows is always good because you meet people, but referral is how most businesses get built, really. The word of mouth, either good
Definitely.
or bad.
Yes,
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's really important though for young people to have, if you're coming into this or you want to do something similar, get 3 really strong pieces of work to showcase. And then I feel like you can build from there.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And, you just look, if you go to if you go to a NASCAR race, look at all the photographers and all the people that are there. There's hundreds of them, it seems like, and so recording that content, getting the pictures, all that is such a big deal now. That's how race teams are getting people to follow, and we know they want fans, and so that works, in that respect too. Is there anybody that you'd really like to either interview or go to their business and do a thing on their business? Anything like that in mind?
Michael Jordan.
I knew it. I was going to say that.
He seems he's living like this great life, and he continues to reinvent himself, which I just think is really cool.
Mm-hmm. I just knew when I asked that question, then I was like, I bet she says 2311 or Michael Jordan.
Yes. Oh yeah. That's been on my bucket list for a really long time, to get him or Cletus McFarlane or people that are like Frankie Muniz, that are coming in from a different perspective and kind of giving our industry a new life.
I agree. And I think Cletus and Frankie would probably be fairly easy to interview. You know, Michael might be a little harder, but he's so available at the races. You know, like Jamie Little has interviewed him the last 3 weeks after they've won, you know, and he seems open to that kind of thing. And that, so, and then after they won the suit, the lawsuit, I look at it like they won. You know, there's a lot of things there that you could do a sit down with him and really be a good piece of content and a good show. I'd love to see the 2311 shop. I've never been there. I haven't been down there since they built that, but I'll bet it's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, it probably is. I mean, I haven't been in there either, but when I get in there, I'll let you know.
Yes. Well, I'm sure they probably let you come and have tours or whatever, and I'll get back down there at some point. But yeah, you better get that in the works, girl. I can't wait to hear it. You know, I grew up in Illinois, and so the Chicago Bulls were my team for a long time. But when he left, I was done.
Yeah, no, he was great.
He and Scottie Pippen, and then it was like, okay, I'm not a Bulls that big of a fan anymore. Once he was gone.
Yeah. Now he really made that team.
He did. He really did. And he talks about the three-peat. Anybody else? Michael Jordan? Anybody else on your list? You know, any women on your list? Or I'll send you a list of a couple women. You know, women in motorsports obviously is what I promote, because I feel like they don't always get the attention that they deserve or should have. Have you ever done anything on like a woman or a woman in motorsports?
I have. I've done interviews with Natalie Decker. I'm trying to think, like there's been like a lot of women that I've like done interviews with, especially early on. But I think what Natalie Decker's doing, as far as, you know, she led the press out of Daytona, which I thought was really cool.
Oh, she did. Yeah. I know Natalie.
Oh yeah, she's great. So I thought that was really neat that a woman was leading the press coming out of the event.
Yeah. Yeah, I met her quite some time ago, probably 2018, early on, and became friends with her and her mom and that. So whenever I would, I went to Michigan a lot to the races and that. And so I would connect with them. And she raced in Berlin when she must have been with ARCA at the time. So great gal. And she got a lot of negative stuff. And it's like, what, you just got to push through.
I think a lot of it is because she's a woman in a male dominated space. People just kind of pile on.
I think so too. And honestly, I see less of that, like maybe at the lower levels than there used to be. When I first started doing this in 2017, I would say that that women were picked on, if you will, or whatever you want to call it, way more, or not accepted. It's like, what is she doing here? Is that your dad's car? Stuff like that. Where now it's much less than it used to be, which is a good thing. We're moving in the right direction, but we still have a long way to go.
It's an uphill battle.
Uphill battle for sure. Kendra, what do you have coming up that's exciting? Anything you can share?
So next week is it okay to date this or?
Oh yeah, it's fine.
Okay. So next week, BMW is flying me out for their Women in Motion speaking event, and I'll be on a panel talking about women in the industry.
That's awesome. Yeah, and so that's like a conference that people pay to go to. Is that what that is?
I think it's where my understanding is they fly in their dealers who are women, and they have like a female focus event at their plant in South Carolina.
Nice. Good for BMW.
Yeah, that's good.
That's great. Yeah, I can see other manufacturers and really other companies where they have, their products are mostly motorsports related or whatever. They need to talk to the women more, because who makes the purchases? A lot of times a purchasing agent is going to be a woman, or especially in the home, who makes the decisions in your house about what you buy? You go to the grocery store and you pick these green beans over these, that kind of thing. And so 80% of the purchases are made by women.
Yeah, I think it's greatly overshadowed for sure and overlooked.
It is. And the women that race have a harder time getting sponsorship. And so some of these grocery store chains and that need to take a look at, the impact they could have on their products and everything just by being on a race car for a weekend. Look at the casino that was on Tyler Reddick's car. Nobody had ever heard of that casino, at least not, a lot of places. And now everybody knows it. So it can be a huge benefit, can it, Kendra?
The grocery store idea is really good. You should reach out to like Hy-Vee and have them on your show.
Yeah, I should, because you know what they sell that I love? They sell Sturzing potato chips. They're made in Iowa. So I used to live in Illinois, right across the Mississippi River from Iowa. And there's a company there called Sturzing. And my mom used to say they make the greasiest potato chips, but they're just different. And oh my gosh, I love them. So anytime somebody's coming to Michigan and they're driving and they come through Iowa, they bring me bags of Sturzings. So I should reach out to them and talk to them.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think I will.
Yeah. And Hy-Vee would be a great sponsor. You should get them on the show.
Yeah, I definitely will check that out, Kendra. I hadn't thought of that. So anything that we haven't talked about, Kendra, that you'd like to share, or you want to share more about what you do or that, and then how do people get a hold of you? What social media or where should we get a hold of you if we want to do something with your company?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we covered everything. I mean, our production company, CWK Media, and then our brand, just Kendra Sommer on Instagram is where people can find us. It's across all social media, just Kendra Sommer.
Okay. Easy enough to find that then, isn't it? For sure.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Kendra, thank you for being on. What's the weather in LA today?
It's like 50, so cold.
Okay, so it's going to be 60 something here tomorrow in Michigan, and hard to believe. So I guess I'm okay being here then, because the sun's even out, and having sunshine in Michigan this time of year is few and far between.
It totally is. Well, it's short weather in the Midwest when it's in the 50s, but here in LA, it's like, get your parka on. It's so funny.
Yeah, true. Well, Kendra, I hope you have a good rest of the day and this week, and I hope you'll stay in touch. If you have some interviews that you think would be great for me to share, I'd love for you to, let me know, email me or whatever, because I always love sharing what other women are doing. And I especially think the crime deal is really cool. I know some people that would really get into that. So please stay in touch and have a good rest of the week.
You too. Thank you so much.
All right. Just hang on a second.
That's it for this episode of the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. We hope you've been inspired by the stories I shared today and feel more connected to the amazing community of women in motorsports. Remember, whether you're behind the wheel, in the pits, or cheering from the stands, your story matters. And together, we're driving change and celebrating every milestone. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who loves motorsports as much as you do. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more incredible stories. So until next time, stay inspired, stay connected, and keep racing through life. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, where every woman's story is worth celebrating.